this is Dragon Veos, and welcome back to my channel. We had quite a time with the Owl House, and there were a lot of memorable moments with it. So, as a special honor for this show, I decided to go over some of the top 10 most emotional moments in the Owl House. I'm going to try to avoid the sadder moments because I already did a list of that. So for this one, it's going to invoke certain scenes that were a bit emotional by basically saying that where we do feel a little sympathetic or sometimes just feel awe-struck and inspired. So without further ado, and please make sure you grab your tissues, this is Top 10 Most Emotional Moments in the Owl House. So I thought to include Gus's emotional moments on this list because he's been such a great vendor. He didn't have a whole lot of story. He does have amazing illusion magic, but that wasn't very appreciated enough. So in the past, Gus was used and tricked by fellow students at Exide that were a bit older than him because he was the prodigy. Thankfully, the Willow King of the Sea treated him to a fiasco at a special project that was supposed to be a group thing. So, and another event that I felt like was so important to talk about was the one where he had a heart-to-heart conversation after he accidentally helped Maria, one of Matt's friends, Atlantis, try to hijack a Saphir's most special-looking stones. And, well,
Landis,
this is what
always
happened.
Bria's stooge. Better a stooge than a clown. Bria was right. Illusions are nothing but high-def party tricks.
Yeah, I used to think that too. But then I met some dork who used his powers to save me from a man-eating detention pit.
In a lot of ways, Matt and Gus just have so much in common. But I put this in number 10 because, again, Matt and Gus are probably one of the few underrated individuals in the show, as well as that the emotional moments with Gus are a little relatable in some sense, which is why they're emotional in the first place. So, I felt like this scene was very important because this was one of the few steps in the show where Luz and Amity became moody. So, of course, it all started in that ironic twist of ways where Luz unintentionally sets herself up into a life-threatening duel with Amity in restoring the king's honor. And in doing so, though the match ended in complete and utter chaos considering both sides were playing dishonestly by Lilith and Ida, Luz decides to go over and try to patch things up with Amity, and thus resulting in something that we've never been before. We get to see a softer side of Amity, and in the voice that she talks, you can tell that Amity's been through so much pressure. Yeah, Dahlia. By then, Luz also shows that despite being absent, she still is willing to take mistakes like ambition and no shortcuts. And thus, Andy began playing the greatest thing and by that it's again very important and emotional concept because this is where we get to see a side of Andy that we never had before in the third and the second season 1. And it also is where we get to see the start of their relationship. In the beginning of the series, I didn't exactly have much high opinions about Camila after what happened in the first episode. Well, the Lying Witch and the Warden. So what happened was later on, when Camila comes across Luz's audio diary, We definitely got to see a little
Let's
bit
be
of
honest,
Lucy's
this
life
house
and some
ain't
of the
that much
struggles she
prettier.
had to face.
I
Despite being
think
in
this may be the
school,
worst week
Luz
ever.
always had to be supportive of her
But
mom
Dad
and her
left me this
dad,
book.
especially when her dad was suffering a severe illness. My best bet is cancer, but this is just my speculation of what he was suffering from. Anyway, Camila soon came across the tail end of Luz's journal, where Luz admits that eventually she'll have to try to put an end to her adventures of the Boiling Isles for the sake of everyone. Camila couldn't accept that, and in order to redeem herself for what happened at the beginning of the series, she decides to push Luz forward into going back to the demon realm and taking on Belos head on. This felt like an important emotional scene because we definitely feel a little bad for Camila, as well as that sense of hope of her finally coming around and putting her fears aside for the sake of her daughter. And more of it is talked about later on, further down on this list. But Camila's small push in helping Luz getting past her personal fears and the insecurities of what happened with Belos back in the Time War definitely helped being a better relationship than ever before. And I feel like this can also be a little relatable to the mother and daughters that reside out there today.
So, as I said before, it's pretty crazy of how certain circumstances changes everything what we know about our beloved characters. In this case, when Hunter decides to sneak into Hexside in hopes of getting some new recruits, he never imagined that he would soon encounter a friend and later, the love of his life. Willow and Hunter kind of got off on the wrong foot when they were starting their flying derby team. But over time, Hunter begins to warm up. But before that, he opens up about how he feels to be a half a witch, seeing as nothing more that he has to prove himself in order to succeed in life. And then it backtracks into Willow, who also relates that feeling of being called half a witch because she struggles at the skill that she has. It's not that she isn't incapable of doing anything, it's just she struggles with the confidence as well as having that mindset of going forward. This felt like an emotional moment because Hunter and Willow slowly begin to form a friendship which possibly later on turns into a canon relationship, one that we appreciate over time. But again, their talk definitely brought out more of their character for us as the audience, as well as giving an idea that Willow still suffers some self-doubt, but she is on the path of trying to find something that Hunter can relate to. Now, Gwendolyn Clawthorne is sort of like Camila. She means well, but the direction that she puts into solving a situation may not be the best of choices. So, Gwendolyn Clawthorne tries everything in her power to heal her daughter and lift the curse. And of course, I don't exactly think of her as a really good mom, considering the fact how she shoves Liv aside and never even bothers to give her the light of day. But one of the things that really pulls it off was in Keeping Up Appearances, where Gwendolyn pulls off something way too far. She decides to pull off several schemes presented by a book that shows that she had been severely scammed by a so-called healer in the area, and Luz is all too familiar with that. And on top of that, when Gwendolyn learns that Lilith has also shared Ida's curse, it was felt like a huge slap to the face because Gwendolyn soon realized what she had done to her daughters. It wasn't flat out neglect, but she was so absorbed of trying to fix the curse as well as everything else that she never really acknowledges both Lilith and Ida in terms of their situations. So she decides to make amends by finally confronting them and talking to them, like talk. This is a very emotional scene because not only do we see Lilith finally having a breakdown and crying, a much needed cry by the way, but we also see that Ida finally is able to accept her curse a little forward and have some control over it, now that Gwendolyn was able to accept that this is a curse that's not going to go away that easily, and that Ida has, on her own terms, find a way to live with this curse. This is a very bittersweet episode because it showed that Gwendolyn, again, a mother, means well, but it doesn't mean that sometimes the situation or solution is going to be easy, and just accepting things and rolling with it.
We all knew about Ida's curse and the consequences that came with it. It was literally life-threatening to her, even if she blows up at the littlest amount of anger. She's learned to control it over the years, provided via the potion, though it wasn't exactly easy for her to be honest with King and Luz about it, and understandably why. We have a flashback in Knock Knock on Hooty's Door where Ida accidentally attacked her father. It wasn't exactly her fault her curse activated without warning, but she was filled with guilt at the fact that she injured her father up to the point where he can no longer use his hands to carve Palisman properly. She's been living with that guilt for years and afraid that the more time she spends with other people, the more they're going to get hurt. Understandably, this curse had a negative effect with her relationship with Rain, which resulted in their heartbreaking breakup. However, things began to take a real positive turn as Ida began to reflect about the curse, what it has done to her, and some of the things she missed in her life, and some of the things that she may not be able to change, but learned to live with. When she encounters the owl monster in her mindscape, it becomes smaller and smaller, becoming nothing more of a pet, basically. It's also by then that Ida finally accepts the curse as being a part of her, more than just this meanest thing that is crawling in her brain whenever she's afraid or broken. She's not only just controlling it, but she's actually learning to live with it in a peaceful and less self-destructive way. Ultimately, this realization was the ultimate conduit for Harpy Ida, which is a form that proved very useful later on in the series, but I put it as the most important here's where I put it on this list in terms of why it's so important.
Bellows?
What? You've been drinking Ida's homemade apple blood?
Well, Bellows says he's trying to save humanity, and we are saying we want to save our families, so isn't that the same thing? Don't these feelings come from the same place?
You assume Bellows' goal comes from a genuine place. But that man doesn't care about anything but his need to be the hero in his own delusion. And because of that, he fears what he can't control.
And now that fear is
Okay, that was a well-written speech. I mean, this is probably one of the best lines in the entire franchise. Emperor Bellows was nothing more than a lunatic, and Palpatine definitely voiced it in a way where it summarized what we thought from Bellows from the very beginning, as well as reiterating some sort of comfort. After all, even though Lucy's friends had assured her, I think the biggest reassurance is coming from a rightful being who's watched her the entire time. This episode definitely gave a sense of closure for Luz, coming to terms that what she did made her far different from Bellows. She's learned from her mistakes, she grew as a person, and is willing to help anyone and take responsibility for it. Unlike Bellows, who's done nothing of that sort. And this is exactly why I put it at number, because this definitely was that sense of hope that we needed in a hopeless situation, as well as I said before, a sense of closure that was very much needed in a very hopeless character, and something we all needed. As I said before, watching Julie did not disappoint in terms of what happened throughout the series. It gave a very nice closure and a satisfying ending, as well as giving us one of the most satisfying deaths in the series. So, all in all, we definitely see the Boiling Isles taking a change for the better. Everyone is finally becoming a better versions of themselves. The Boiling Isles is healing, both physically and emotionally. And of course, there's now a new school at Hexside. Hunt Low is practically taking on a new shape, as well as Ida, ironically enough, became teacher at the University of Wild Magic, resulting in a brand new start and a brand new chapter in a world that had once been broken and torn from a very toxic society from a madman. This was definitely where it was just a sense of relief. Finally, a big payoff throughout the series, seeing everyone's growth in one fell swoop, especially in terms of a time skip. And I put it number 2 because number 1 is definitely one of the biggest clinchers into our hearts. This moment was practically the most emotional and probably the most relatable scene in the entire Owl House franchise. Luz and Camila have a moment to talk after escaping Kikimora, Luz beating herself up over a situation that she cannot control once again. Camila does try to assure Luz that she was oddball like her, but she was more fearful of Luz following down that same path as her, and tried to do things that everyone else wanted to do, basically giving up into peer pressure of society. But she finally understood that what she did was wrong and admitted to that. And upon hearing this, Luz not only felt a sense of comfort, but it slowly becomes a realization. And ever since hunting Palisman, Luz struggled to understand what she wanted out of her life. What was her goal? And of course, when we heard Amity talk about her
so long to figure out. The only thing I've ever really wanted was to be understood.
And this is why it's number one, because a lot of people had some similar struggles in their lifetime, wanting to belong, wanting people to accept them for who they are. And this is exactly why Luz is such a fan favorite in terms of a protagonist. She struggles with being a person who's willing to belong somewhere. It's not that she was bad to begin with, it's just it's hard for her to learn of how her destructive behavior is pushing everyone away, as well as growing in a way that is very healthy. And again, just thinking about it now, it always made me think back to how Belos is a reflection of Luz during that time, which is something I'll probably discuss in a future video. Anyway, this scene is the number one most beloved and most emotional scene that brings us to tears and hit us to our cores. So these are just my thoughts, and I'd like to hear yours. What do you think about these emotional moments? What moments do you think was more emotional for you? Do a comment, subscribe, and do a like. And this is Dragon Videos, signing off.